What's up? What's up? Welcome to the live stream. My name is Dan. This is Neo Mustangs. This is my Foxbody Mustang channel. We usually try to live stream every Sunday, and we usually like to have a topic. We have done this live stream before. We did a part one of it. So we'll wait for a few people to get into chat before we get things popping here. I am on the wrong screen. So, yeah, so we'll talk about a couple things before we really get into it. But like I said, the theme of the live chat is junkyard mods, and I'm always about junkyard mods. I have a list here, and we did talk about this before, but we're going to go through some of the other stuff that we didn't talk about last time. We're also going to, go back over some of the old ones that we just had. So. What's up, Donnie B? Donnie B's got Terminator X's in stock at Anderson Ford Motorsport. For those of you that have been waiting, you guys have seen the videos. Let me talk about that real quick as we get started here in the live stream. You guys have seen my last video one of my last videos with the A9L. Guys, I've been running the A9L in my black car, and I've been running the A9L in my white car for many years. I mean, we've made 700-800 horsepower on a stock ECU with a quarter horse. So if you're new to the channel, you're just joining a live stream, go check that video out. Brutal just came out with a Leech, and Brutal just came out with their own versions of, and Leech has been preaching this stuff for a while, which if you don't know who Leech Motorsports is, he's a pretty good tuner. I don't even know where he's based out of, so I hope maybe somebody can hit me up in like comments below. But he also tunes a lot of quarter horse like I do. So anyways, what's up, Fat Boy Fox? What's up, Mod Motorhead, Lamar Richardson? Anyways, there's nothing wrong with the A9L and the quarter horse and tuning that way. It does take a lot of, it takes a lot of patience. And I just scratching the surface on what, compared to what, what Dave knows. So, and Dave's the guy that I tune with. So, yeah. If you're looking, like, where you need a Terminator X is when your car and its wiring, its wiring is just like a rat's nest. Sorry, I'm just trying to worry about this connection here. Give me a second on this connection. Guys, if it buffers, don't worry about it. We got a pretty good connection going on, but I have to change the bit rate. I don't know. Anyway, what's up, Stingman, Alex, Lamar Richardson, Man Gear, how we doing? The real Foxbody addicts. So, when we get into, when you start getting into wiring harnesses, you start getting into tuning, you start getting into, where you really need a Terminator X is on those cars that are really hacked up. I mean, if you're like doing a 4-cylinder conversion, and you can't find a good computer, can't find a good harness, I probably would recommend you, especially on a 4-cylinder conversion, you probably would save time and hassle just buying the Terminator X, because a 4-cylinder conversion requires all the O2, injector, and regular harnesses. So I did want to caveat a little bit on that, and it's good that Anderson Ford Motorsport is starting to get, their what's the word I'm looking for? Starting to get their harnesses back in. Hang on a sec, I got to change my settings here. My video settings are off a little bit. So we shall wait a little bit. Let's change that. 3,000. Hit apply, hit OK. See if that changes me up a little bit. Okay. Cousin Paul, what's up? Blue Collar Flocks, how we doing? What's up, my man Mike? Going to put my fuel pump in tomorrow. Got a new A9P and still didn't run. So I will put a new, yeah, I mean, what was your symptoms? Anyways, we talked a lot the last time on my live stream about junkyard mods, if you guys remember that. So let me give you a little bit of background. Back in the day, we used to have websites like the corral.net, stangnet.com. We used to have actual websites that we could go to, and there was like, you know, I highly suggest, because that information is still out there, so I highly suggest you go check it out if you ever get a chance and you're ever kind of curious on what junkyard mods are, which I'm pretty much got most of them here on my list that we've been talking about, my 2 live streams. But to be honest with you, those websites have such a plethora, what is that the word I'm looking for? Of just knowledge that's on those websites that if you dig through it, like it almost, we live in a time now to where we don't have to really search for much anymore. We just Google it and it's done. But you know, there's so many good things that you can get from the junkyard that'll make your Foxbody better. And you know, I think we had talked about Flowtech headers are pretty good. So we talked about 4,500. Okay, whoops. Give me one more second. I gotta change the bit rate again. We talked about in the other live stream about 5 junkyard mods, and if you guys remember, number 5 was the actual fans. Now we talked about a contour fan. We talked about what was the other? The Taurus fan, and we talked about the Lincoln Mark 7 fan as being, you know, as being really good fans for your Foxbody. Matter of fact, the SN95 mod was pretty good too. Broken Tool Garage, who's a small, you know, a small Foxbody channel on the come up, and he's actually here in chat, I think. He actually did an SN95 video, SN95 fan video to fit a Foxbody. So if you guys want to check that one out, that's one I really haven't seen in a while. So if you guys want to check that one out, small token of your endless knowledge. Man, Mike, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate the super chat, dude. It goes to help, and it goes to help the channel, and it's much appreciated. Thank you. Anyways, plethora. Come on, Fat Boy Fox, help me out. So anyways, he did a SN95 fan, and that was number 5 on our list, if you remember last time we streamed. Number 4 was the 3G alternator conversion, where we talked about the SN95 alternator. So like, listen, if you're going through like the junkyard, Cat, check it out. If you're going through the junkyard and you see I don't think it matters if it's a V6 or a V8. Am I right, Broken Tool? So if you see a V6 or a V8 9495 Mustang, you might want to stop and take a peek. At this point, there's 4 mods on an SN95 that you need to pull for your Foxbody if you ever want to try to do something with it. Like want to try to make it better. Now, when I say it's a mod, it's more of like a technological upgrade. Like, hey, this is 7 or 8 years older than the Foxbodies, and this is some of the things they did better. So one of the things is you could use their fan, and their fan actually has this area next to it that you could actually mount. It's kind of like the Taurus fan too. They have this extra area where you can mount your water bottle or your overflow, excuse me, and it sit nice and tucked in here. So the contour fan's nice because it's dual fans. The Taurus fan, the only thing I don't like about the Taurus fan is I've had problems where the fan was in the middle and it would hit my water pump or got real close. Anyways, if you ever see a V6 or V8 Mustang and you're rolling on through the junkyard, dude, you want to stop and look to see if it's got a fan. Fan's probably cheap. Fan's probably 20 bucks. You know, it's definitely an upgrade. Get the pigtail behind it as well. SN95 as well, same car. You want to mess with that alternator. Now, number 4 on our list, last time we did this, was a 3G alternator. That's also on the V6 Mustangs too. So, you know, it doesn't matter. 94, 95 Mustangs in a junkyard, I mean, you want to get these parts. And of course, the front spindles. The front spindles and the front calipers and the hoses, you want to get them too. Now, there's one more thing you definitely don't want to forget for an SN95, and that's even if you don't plan on taking it, even if you don't plan on doing anything with it, what you want to do is you want to go to the back axle. Doesn't matter if it's a V6 or a V8, and you're going to want to get those backing plates. You're going to want to get the caliper brackets and the backing plates, because you can make, and I'm going to do a video about this. There's people that's already done it, but you can actually make SN95, anti-moan brackets, caliper brackets, whatever, actually fit on the back of a Foxbody axle. You take the drum backing plates off, and then, I mean, you go to Rock Auto, get you a cheap caliper, boom, you got a rear disc conversion. Cheap, easy, effective. That car right there's got like 4 things on it that as soon as I see it, I'm like, bam, I want all 4 of those things. Usually at this age, day and age, you go through a junkyard, 94, 95 Mustangs usually have their spindles missing right off the bat. So, and you don't even worry about the bearings. You just need the damn spindle, especially 94, 95. Let me get into chat here. Mike, have you ever reused a crush washer? If no, why not? Actually, what I've actually done, Mike, is I've actually bought the spacer. I'm assuming you're talking about the pinion gear. Timmy Two Wire, what up, man? Would you say TKX for just, yeah, dude, I make 700 wheel on a TKX. I beat the shit out of it. Excuse my French, but I beat the shit out of it. Ask Hanlon, he's here hiding somewhere. He just took a ride in it, man. I was not nice to that TKX on the street. I shifted it with no clutch. I have the video coming out this week. I'm not going to tell you what that's all about, but it's going to be very, very nice. You guys will like it. Hell yeah. If you buy a Tremec TKO, you're doing yourself a discredit. Just buy the TKX. Man Gear 50, I pulled off my intake off and found one of my dog bones just laying there in the middle. Uh-oh. Not where it was supposed to be. Lifter had turned sideways. What is the likelihood my cam has been trashed in the lobe? It's probably not likely. You probably, what it sounds like, your dog bone, okay, so the dog bone holds the cam lifter, and what happened was your push rod was fine. I mean, obviously your push rod's missing too, right? Because, I mean, it's sideways. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Had a little problem there in chat. No big deal. What's your thought on running an E? Let's go back. Blue collar. I did. Okay, so they have an actual. I'm assuming you're talking about a pinion crush sleeve. So it deleted all those comments. It's stupid for. You know, I catch them pretty quick, usually. Anyway, they have those spacers you can buy too, where all you got to do is pretty much measure your crush sleeve, and it's a hardened spacer, and it's got little shims to it. So you'll have like the spacer will be, I don't know, 1/4 inch. I'm just making it up, and then the kit will come with a bunch of little 10,000 shims. So whatever your crush sleeve was, you see what I mean? You can lock it down with just a solid one. So, does that sound right? So, here we go. Going back to number 5 was the fans. Number 4 was the 3G alternator, which actually went hand in foot with the fans. Number 3, we talked about, who did I have at number 3? The diff. I think it was the diff and the gears from an Explorer in the back. Like, and that goes for the V6s as well. The 96 to 01 Explorers had 31 spline differentials that fit right into a Foxbody. So literally all you have to do is buy axles. Now, I'm going through reiterating what we had already talked about last stream for those guys that are just catching up. Yeah, you measure your used crush sleeve, and you can buy the crush sleeve kit that's an actual spacer, Mike. You don't have to buy another crush sleeve. And you can just install it that way. That way you can hot swap gears and not have to worry about it. You always have that kind of that same backlash. Or, yeah. Man, no one push rod was in this place. Don't know how it got out. Wow. So, number 3 was the Explorer differentials. And now, again, I'm reiterating this stuff. Like, for Fox bodies, you're walking through the junkyard, 96 to 01 Explorer pops. You see it. It's a V6, V8. Who gives a shit? Go get its differential. Now, you need to know what an 8.8 looks like because some of them did come 7.5. So I don't want to tell you, hey, go get that differential, and it's the same when it's probably not. So Make sure you know what you're looking at as far as 8/8 diff. They're like a square-ish, roundish edges. If you don't know what you're looking at, just Google 8/8 differential cover. If it looks like that, then you're good to go. So, moving on, the number 2 thing we talked about during that stream was the left, and what was it? It was the left Ranger axle and the right, it wasn't Astro. I got that one wrong. It was Aerostar, am I right? Astro van's a damn Chevy, so I got that one wrong. I had somebody correct me in chat, so I appreciate if he's watching. I forget who it was. Somebody's like, you mean Aerostar? Not Astrovan. Astrovan's Chevy. So we talked about axles. So if you're doing a 5-lug swap, you can take the left axle of a Ranger or the right axle of a Aerostar, the Ford one, and you got to take their drums with you. They're a 9-inch drum, and that's an easy 5-lug swap. It's just a direct bolt in for your Foxbody. So we're talking, again, we're talking about, and you say to yourself, well, why 5-lug? Well, I mean, look what I do with my 5 lugs on my black car here. I mean, I have a 10.5-inch wheel in the back of that with a couple spacers and some elongated 3-inch wheel studs. I'm able to put whatever I want on there without chopping my frame up. Anyways, number 1 was the turbo coupe axle. Now, I chose the turbo coupe axle that last live stream because it's kind of an oddball that a lot of people don't know. The turbo coupe axle 87-88 only is really kind of a two-for deal, because not only did it come rear disc and it was wider, you know, because nobody likes the Foxbody rear axle that sucks in. I don't know if you guys know, you ever see your Foxbody and the wheel like sits flush with this fender here, but then it's like sucked in the back. You know what I mean? It just looks sucked in like on a 16.7. It's terrible. I hate it. But the nice thing about the SN95 axle with the ABS and even the 87-88 turbo coupe axle is it brings the axle out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, so it's a two-for deal because you not only get rear disc and the better stance, but you also get gears. Regardless if it's an auto or 5-speed, you either get 355s or 373s already in the axle. So if you're on Facebook Marketplace, if you're walking through a junkyard, you see a Thunderbird turbo coupe, wow, that's a really cool old car. If it's an 87-88 rear, that rear axle, it's worth its weight in gold for a stock Fox that hasn't been messed with yet. So let me get back into some chat here. I apologize about spammer, guys. You're gonna get that. Doesn't bother me. Just deleted. Unreal that we got to deal with that shit. Yeah. No, the push rod was in place. Loch Ness. Hello. What's up, Loch Ness? Mike. Preload. Man, thank you. I love it. Yeah. So like I said, you can go on Summits Racing. You can go to Jegs. I don't know. Everybody carries them. I would think they're just little, you know, pinion spacer mobobber looking things, whatever. That helps you out. 86 4i Freak, looking at the turbo coupe rear brake setup for my 4-lug. There you go. So I'm pretty sure that that's still a 4-lug. So if you still want to stay 4-lug, rear disc, and have some gears, turbo coupe axle is the way to go. If you want to switch the axles at that point, you're gonna you have to buy like aftermarket axles, because there's no 5-lug axles that'll fit that. Just so you guys know, a Foxbody axle is 29 and 3/16 length long from hub to end, and I think the turbo coupe and the SN95 axle are both 29 and 15/16, if I'm right at 30, if I remember correctly. And I'm shooting those numbers off the top of my head, but I think I'm pretty close. What's up, War Admiral 363 in the house? Welcome to the stream, my man. You and that pretty ass coupe of yours. God, I rolled up on that coupe, fellas. Him and Foxy Brown was sitting in that. I'm gonna go off tangent here real quick. We were sitting in that parking lot. I'm like, my car looks like a shitbox. I just couldn't get over how much detail and how much thought was put into Foxy Brown. Foxy Brown was probably my favorite Fox at Foxtoberfest, just because of the different that they did to that car. It was sick. Just the amount of thought and detail that went into it, and the hybrid. Big Stick Stangs, what's up, my man? I think SN95 is 1 inch wider. It's 3/4. I think, I'm pretty sure that the SN95 is 3/4 inch each side, so it's 1.5 inch. And I think that the New Edge is almost 2 inch, so it's inch each side. So you are correct, Broken Tool. I have Mosers, 4-lug axles, and 355 gears already. I didn't want to get rid of my Mosers. There you go. So, okay, so you have a Fox axle 86. I'm gonna use him as reference. You got a Fox axle, a stock 186 4i. What's up, Proline News? So if you have a regular 4-lug axles and 355 gears already in your normal drum brake setup, you could go get an SN95, rear brake caliper setup, like the brake bracket, excuse me, the anti-moan bracket, the backing plate, whatever, caliper bracket, and the caliper, and you can you got to run the lines, but you can build on the back of your already Fox axle and just get, since you're already still 4-lug, you can just get Cobra rotors. What's up, GSF? So that's what I was talking about earlier. So instead of actually having to find, to go rear disc, you see what I'm talking about? You can, if you still got the rear drums, already got 4-lug Mosers, and your diff's already set with your gears, you can still convert that to rear disc. You can buy, a Strange kit, or there's a couple different ones. I'm trying to think who the other one was off the top of my head. Anyways, there's a couple different kits you can convert your rear disc to, but Junkyard, you can just go to get an SN95. That window tree, yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah, so like I was just saying, the backing plate 86 4i, you just take you got to take the 4 bolts that are at the end of the axle. You take the bracket off. You get the caliper and the caliper bracket and the hose if you can get it. The brake if it's any good. The brake hose, and that's your swap right there. You have to cut the bracket to go over the back of your end of your axle and bolt it from the back side. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good idea. Lockness, what's up? Neo, what's the difference between a rack with 2-piece bushings and a rack with 1-piece bushing? Oh, you're killing me, man. I was looking for a turbo coupe swap. It's Fox brakes. No, you just get the brackets from the Junkyard. Fig Newton sticker. So, Lockness, I'm not real sure about the rack, my man. I'd love to answer that question, but 2-piece bushing. I'm not sure what you're even talking about on the rack. Okay. Yeah, that'd be funny if I had a big Fig Newton thing there. So, anyways, going back to my stream, or my list. So we talked about the turbo coupe axle. So I have other things here, and I'm just going to go down the list. I'm actually not going to do a top 10, but I'm going to leave the top 2 at the end that I think are the most important. So we didn't talk last time about 30-pound injectors. Now, if I remember correctly, 30-pound injectors were only found in Super Coupes. Now, we're talking 89 to, I think it's 89 to 94, 3. I think 30s, now we're gonna double back on 30s and 42, so this will be the first of the mods for the new stream here for the top 10. So I think 30s were in Super Coupes, and we're gonna add to that and say I think 42s were in Navigators, the 5.4s. Now those aren't something that you really see at a junkyard, but I'm gonna be honest with you guys. If you're walking through the junkyard, I'm gonna say that about another 10 more times, and because I like to walk through the junkyard, I'm not gonna lie to you. I like to see, I walk through the Ford place, if I see an old car, I'll go check it out, take a picture of it. But, if you see a Navigator, it's got 42s in it. If it's got a 5.4, it's got 42s in it, I believe. And I think I know 30s were Super Coupe, but the problem with Super Coupe is there was only 6. So that's a tough one. Man, us Foxbody guys love them. I know, man. I love picking at them. Dude, 2019 GT500 47-pound injectors have the same plug as Fox. No. Loch Ness, I don't think I've ever seen 1-piece bushing. Neither have I. 30s also came in the 98, 99 Ford Explorer with a 4.0. I don't think those were 30s. Those were 11s. You talking about the white ones? There was a white injector. Now, we're going to talk about injectors for a minute because that's going to be my next couple mods. So 30s came in Super Coupes, six of them. 42s came in Navigators. Now, the Navigator motor, it was the 5.4, so my years are off a little bit, but I think it was the early 2000s number. Surprisingly, there was a couple of them that had 24-pound injectors. I want to say it was the SHO, the Taurus, and there was somebody else that had 24s, and I can't remember them off the top of my head. Again, I'm not cheating doing homework on corral.net. This is stuff that I've had in my head for many years. I walk through a junkyard, I kind of, you know, minus anything 2000 and above, I pretty much know a lot of the Ford and what they had in them, you know, as far as injectors and stuff. So if they were red, then they were 30s. Why would they put 30s in a 4.0 though? That doesn't make any sense. I don't think I've ever seen 30s. Of course, I don't really pay attention to 4.0s too much, so you might be right there, Bill. I'm gonna check that out. I'm definitely gonna check that out. So, but I think the SHOs, if you see a Taurus SHO in the junkyard, there's only 6 of them, but they had the EV6 style with the EV1 plug. Now, that brings me to my next injector. Now, I'm not really going to write this down. We're not going to whiteboard it because I have a list here. But I wanted to talk to you about 19s. So 19s are definitely, you know, not a shitty injector. However, 19s definitely get a bad rep. Everyone, one of the biggest disregards, in my opinion, of the internet is the fact that they don't give 19-pound injectors enough credit. But this is your fat boy injector, fat boy Foxbody injector, or whatever, fatties. I just call them fatties or whatever. It's not nice, but I'm talking about an injector. So this doesn't spray very well. Pretty much when they get clogged, you see that they get clogged, they're pretty much effed. You know what I mean? So my next the next mod, we talked about the 30s, we talked 42s, we talked about the 24s and the SHO. But in an Explorer V8, they had these 19-pound injectors. Now they're yellow, so they follow the same color code. But the difference is they're a 4-sprayer. They atomize better. This is an Explorer injector. This is a Foxbody injector. You can see the difference. This one has a 1-sprayer. This has 4 tiny ones. This one sprays way better. It atomizes the fuel a lot better. This is a way more efficient fuel injector. So you want this injector in your Foxbody. Period. End of story. If you're going to stay with 19-pound injectors, if there's one thing you can do for your Foxbody between now and whenever you decide to do this, it didn't make any sense, but if you find a V8 Explorer or happen to find a GT40 intake or whatever it has these on it, these are worth their weight in gold. I rebuild my injectors all the time, and I test them on my little tester back there. So when I get these from a GT40, if I find GT40 stuff in the junkyard, because I pulled hundreds and hundreds of sets of, heads, injectors, and intakes out of junkyards over the past 10 years. So I've done this a lot. In every Mustang that I put 19s on, these are the 19s I put on. So if there's one mod that if you're going to stay stock, okay, speed density, mass air, I don't really care. Get this injector. Get it cleaned. Clean it yourself. There's a whole bunch of stuff on YouTube, cheap, easy ways to clean them. Dude, you'll notice a difference. You'll notice a difference the way your car runs. Lock this. Okay. So Andrew, they asked when I ordered. Okay, rack. Okay, I've seen red ones. Don't know the rating. Yeah. So I've had 30 pounds of guy. Listen. Let me go back to this 19-pound injector since we're talking about it. If your car is stock bottom end, now I don't care if it's a trick flow headed. I don't care if it's AFRs. I don't care if it's got a Holley Systemax on it. I don't care what it has. If it's stock bottom end, put your stock MAF on it, put your 19-pound injectors in it, and run it. The only time you're going to need, you know, most of us, 90% that run stock bottom end run a smaller cam, like a B cam, an E cam. You can't tell me the letter cams still don't work. They're still really awesome. Matter of fact, one of the other videos that are coming out soon shows my buddy Randy Davis's stock bottom end Explorer motor running at the track. Now, Randy is a big guy. Now, he's a big guy. And, you know, his car is full weight, no cage. And you'll be impressed on how fast this car went. Fuel injection connection has those. I bought a set and they work great. Yeah, so, guys, this is probably one of the best mods you can do, and it's cheap. Especially if you can get a GT40 intake. Go to the Junkyard, you can get the intake upper lower as well. If I pull 42s off in a Navigator, would I be able to run them on a stock Fox until I get Holly? No. Yes, if you have a calibrated MAF, but I would not suggest doing that. 30s, 36s, 42s, hell, even 24s are tough to, will drown your motor if it's not right. That's why I say, until you get a Holly, these are found in 96 to 01 Ford Explorer 5.0s and 97 to 01 Mercury Mountaineers. It's the same damn truck. You see what I mean? They're found all these injectors. Now, there is a white one. It's not the same one. I think those are like a 20. Are they 21 or? I think those are a 17 or a 21. I can't remember. Now you could run those in a Foxbody too, but why would you? You want the yellow ones. I think the white ones came out around 99-ish, 99, 2000, 2001, pretty much GT40P era stuff. So moving on. We went to the injectors. We talked about the injectors. We talked about the Explorer 19-pound injectors, the 42s and the 30s. Now, on the same engine, naturally, I'm not talking about the heads and the intake yet. They had a throttle body. Now, the throttle body is very specific. That's actually a pretty good mod. And if you actually took the time to look at and get, if you got like, if you walk through the Junkyard, you see a 5.0 Mustang, or excuse me, Explorer. I mean, there's so many good things that you could pick off the top of that motor. The heads, the intake, the Explorer injectors, and the throttle body. Because the throttle body on an Explorer is 65 millimeter. So the problem is the armature that opens the throttle body is different. But you could modify, you could take your Foxbody throttle body, and you could turn around and you could put the armature for your acceleration. You could rebuild the Foxbody, or excuse me, the Explorer throttle body with the right armature. Now, you do have to clearance a little bit for the fly, for the inside. It's not really that difficult. There's people that's done it, and so I actually made a video about doing it. So it takes a little bit of grinding, but you could free mod yourself 65 millimeter mod without, you know, SN95 Mustangs, 94, 95 especially, and Ford Explorers and Mercury Mountaineers are just a pile of parts for Fox bodies, just a pile. And that's what we're talking about today. Let me get back in the chat. Any certain year, 17. Yeah, so don't forget the natural gas ones. Oh, Explorer throttle body upgrade. Yeah, the Explorer one. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. All I ever did was I took a grinding wheel and just, I think I did, like I said, I think I did a video on it. You just have to open this 60 millimeter blade, or whatever the size of the blade is, up to the Explorer side. You're basically making the armature fit the Explorer throttle body, so you could just get it all nice and cleaned, and it pretty much goes right up to the seals, and it's free. Put your TPS on it, you put your hook your return hose, all that stuff. So that specific mod is 96, 97 and a half only. Early 98 F8, the F8 throttle body did have the boss for it. They did have the boss. Hold on, let me show you real quick. I think I got a couple of them here, sitting here on the shelf. So This is a Foxbody. Actually, we gutted this Foxbody one here, and we actually made, I don't know, I don't even remember. This is just one I had sitting on the shelf. So we actually made a throttle body with this one, and you can see what I did. Basically, you got to pull the arm out, and the arm is the only thing you care about from the Foxbody throttle body. And that's what you mod to go into the 65mm throttle body on the 96, 97 throttle body. So it's all the same. Early 98, the F8 Explorer throttle bodies still had the Bossman, so you had to drill this if you wanted to switch it over. See what I mean? But the later F8, which is 98, 99, 2000, 2001, all that throttle body can't be modified because they changed the embossment of the TPS too. It was real high. So you can do it. It's just, and T-Moss did it. If you guys know who T-Moss is, he's got a good write-up about that stuff. Does the new TKX shift like the stock T5? Actually, the new TKX kicks the stock T5's ass. There, I said it. So I'm using 172 rockers with a 5.0 cam. Should I advance the cam 4 degrees? No. I don't believe in advancing. Don't do it. Bill, I hope so. I ordered one a month ago and waiting on it. Yeah, so we'll come back to the list. Isn't there a 90mm throttle that they found in the junkyard? No. The only one I suggest messing with is the Explorer one because of the ease of doing it. Actually, this elbow will move. You could just take a cheater pipe. It'll move with a cheater pipe. It'll stay tight in there too. It's pretty good. So, let's talk about the TKX real quick, and then we'll go back to our list. I did a video. You guys seen the video of me taking Andrew Hanlon for a ride in the TKX in my black car here. Little rowdy sumbitch right there. Yeah, I mean, the TKX shifts so well that if you know how to shift the transmission, you could almost shift it without using the clutch. It shifts that good. Like, it just, no grinds, just click right into gear. Now, I don't suggest you doing that, but that was one of the things I wanted to test the 3-cone synchronizer. One of the things that popped in my head when I first started testing the TKX was, will it actually slow the gear down enough for me not to grind my gear? So I started doing just that. I would rev it up to 3 grand, flip off the throttle like you do when you go to shift. You know, it's a normal shift, foot down, throttle, foot down, clutch, throttle. I just didn't do the clutch, and it would go right into gear. Second, third, fourth, without even engaging the clutch. Now, do I suggest you doing that? No, but that just tells you how well it shifts. Is it a long throw? Yes. The TKX is a long throw. A longer throw, but that has the stock base on it still. So a lot of that will change with aftermarket bases. So anti-ricer, the GT40P and intake heads are easy sale. I've gotten junkyards just to sell. If you want to make some money there, yeah. Guys, especially anti-rice, it's a good one. It's really, really a good one. And we're going to talk about that at the end of the stream. But if you guys, if you see a V8 Explorer intake, heads, injectors, throttle body, you need to pull them. Just find a way to get them off that Explorer before they junk the damn thing. Because that will go, put them in a corner. You probably have spent a couple $100 on them. Those are worth good money to rebuild. I've done hundreds of sets for customers. It's just, once the Explorers, listen, that cash for clunkers deal, that thing wiped out a ton of Explorers. Like, they're gone. Like, people were just cashing in on them trucks. I pulled, there was so many, literally, the cash for clunkers. Who remembers that? When Obama first came into presidency, not to talk about politics, but when he first came into presidency, he had a cash for clunkers deal where you bring in a non-fuel economic vehicle, and it was probably one of the best programs he ever did during his presidency, and they would give you like a chunk of money on a rebate and some other stuff. I don't know. And I literally watched 10 Explorers lined up at this junkyard in Youngstown, Ohio, which is about an hour from me, and I couldn't get the heads and intakes off fast enough because me and cousin Paul and cousin Fred were just hammering away. We were getting as many as we could because they threw the sodium bombs in them, but it only ruined the bottom of the motor. It didn't ruin any of the heads. We rebuilt them anyways. So you know, that whole deal killed a lot of the good old trucks and a lot of the good vehicles that I missed today. But man, that was, I've seen just so many of them. Like, and it's just like, you don't want those things, those parts to disappear. But it is what it is. I rescued many 5.0 parts around 2010 when they were a ton in the pick and pull. That's right. Seen a lot of nice vehicles get scrapped. That's right. People were just scrapping good shit left and right. It was ridiculous. So, again, you know, going back to the TKX, listen, if you guys are going to get a TKX or thinking about getting a TKX, you're going to watch a stream, whatever, you guys need to go over to Hanlon Motorsports, 610-469-2695. Hanlon's here in chat. He's a member of my chat. He's, you know, one of my sponsors here on the channel that helps us out with, you know, transmission stuff. Yeah, he's, I've been doing, you know, business with Hanlon for many years. So if you're gonna buy a Tremec, a TKO, you're doing yourself wrong. Don't buy TKOs ever. Like, TKX was built for a purpose. Have to have the base plate just to get right. Okay. Yeah, there was like a soda. What was it? A what was it? Sodium. There was something that they ran the motors. They would bring the cash for clunkers deal is they would bring the car in. It was sad. If you're a mechanic, this was like sad because you watched the car die. Like good running 5.0 Explorers, I watched 10 of them die in front of me. It was sick. I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm taking them parts off. We'll see how bad that sodium binitrate or whatever the crap was that ruined the bottom of the motor. But I called them sodium bombs or whatever the bombs. It was like a big skull and crossbones, and they stuck it in the motor in the oil fill, and you just watch it go and just seize. It was ridiculous. It's like throwing sand in the motor or something. I don't know. It was terrible. So, anyways, did you say they can't modify? That's correct. 99, 2000, 2001. The throttle body's TPS was bigger, the base here, and it didn't have this bossment for the return tube. However, if you don't give a crap about the return tube, you can still kind of modify the TPS base here, but it's a little bit different. It's got a different TPS, and it runs on a different frequency, so you can't just wire it in. So I drained the oil on my turbo car the other day, and with the snaps oil pump shaft, there was some shine in the oil, but it would not stick to the magnet. Trash the bearings. Yeah, that's all the coating. When you see hue in your oil, something's getting beat the hell and back. You'll see a natural silver hue in a transmission that's been freshly rebuilt or a new one in a box. If you watched my videos, if you guys follow the channel, watch my videos. We did the oil change in the TKX. It had that silver hue in it. You could take your hand and go do this, and you see the silver hue. That's normal. That's the synchronizer rings, the carbon fiber synchronizer rings, and that's literally the gears kind of meshing in and wearing in a little bit. So that's a good thing. So, going back to my list, we talked about the Explorers, we talked about the throttle body. So the one thing I actually haven't talked about that I mentioned earlier on the SN95 is the spindles. But I don't really need to go into too much detail about that because you guys already know what that is. But I will show you who don't know. Because you know I got the parts right here. And then we'll go into the next one right after that. Because I'm not going to really do another... I'm not going to do another junkyard. Maybe I will. I don't know. Do another junkyard one. Here it is. SN95 spindles are very specific. You know, honestly, I did a video on the Cadillac brakes. Do you guys know? We're still here. What do you think about the BMR suspension? It's not too bad. So this is an SN95 spindle. Fits right on a Foxbody. Now, you want the 9495, which you would see the number right there. F5 stands for 95. This spindle, see how it's got a notch to it right here? This is the one you want. Now 96 to 04 or 96 up, this is down here straight. See what I mean? Will it still work? Yeah, but I think you have to run a bump steer. So this is why you get all spindles 94, 95, because it doesn't matter about the bearing. This doesn't mean shit. You can buy those new. You know, I got a set of move. Now these spindles are for my black car behind me, but you know, the bearings don't mean shit because they just slide on. See? See? It's a little cold, but trust me, they go on. They just pop on, pop off. No big deal. They don't have to be heated or whatever. At least, I hope not. I don't think they do. The other old ones came off like that and the new ones went on. So you can get those hub bearings at the parts store for $100 or something like that. So it's the spindle itself is what you want. So don't ever like buy in it. Who gives a shit if it's got a bad bearing? This right here, this is called a hard part. So this is probably one of the better junkyard mods you can buy for a Foxbody, even if you don't go 5-lug, because you need this part right here to make it all work. Boston beaters. I work at a transmission shop near Boston that my friend has owned for 30 years. If anybody in the area needs, there you go. There you go. The guy's doing some work over in Boston, guys. All right, so we got 81 people in chat. I only have 23 likes. Come on, fellas, hit me up with some likes here. So on top of the spindle here, buying the new hub, the other junkyard mod, now this is a kind of a newer mod. I'm only going to put this in with this mod here, is my Cadillac Brembo brakes. Now, if you've watched my videos, you guys see this. This is actually a freaking Brembo brake. Look, it's a 4-piston aluminum brake. That's badass, ain't it? This was on the 2013 to 2018 Cadillac CTS. Now this is an upgraded thing that they get at the dealer when they order the car. So this can be bought new. This cannot. These go together. Junkyard, Amazon. See what I'm saying? You get this shit on Amazon for $125, bro. 120, dude, it's a 4-piston Brembo. This thing, I could throw this thing like a football. It doesn't weigh shit. This is probably one of the best budget-minded upgrades, period, in the story. Bro, you get this thing for what? 25 bucks? I think I paid $48 for both of my spindles at the junkyard. I threw the hubs out, bought new hubs, brand new damn hub, Moogs too, lifetimes. I bought these for $127 and change each. Well, no, the driver's side was $140. I don't know why. And dude, look how big this brake is. And then I got the Calhoun, really nice drilled and slotted rotors to go on the front. Dude, this brake upgrade, period, is the only thing I need. I don't need to, you don't need rear disc if you have this in the front. Brembo. Anyways, if you do the upgrade in the front with the spindle, junkyard, and you do the Brembo brake Cadillac, get yourself a aftermarket proportioning valve. Run it 80-20, 70-30, 75, whatever. You want most of the fluid in the front. Your Foxbody. Listen, my Foxbody's been having no problem stopping in the 9s. I have Fox brakes, guys. Now, they probably have been blessed by the hand of something, but I have the really good power stop, the SVO rotors, the 5-lug cheater rotors, and really good brake pads in the front. Is that the right answer? Absolutely not. This right here is the right answer. But if you put this brake on and that spindle, you'll never have a problem stopping your Foxbody. End of story. Now, oh, that's a good question. It's a good question. So, when you go to an SN95 spindle and you run the Brembo Cadillac upgrade, okay, it's cheap, right? But you cannot go back. You can only run a 17-inch wheel. It will not clear a 16-inch wheel. So there is a downside to that. So if you're racing like I do, I actually have to buy a 17-inch skinny, which I already have one on my white car, and I was going to buy one for my black car anyways. But you can't put a 15 or 16-inch wheel on the front of your car because the brake is the caliper's too big. So I will caveat that in telling you guys that you can't do that. Now, the one thing I do want to mention before I move on is there's a company out there. They're not doing me any favors. I'm only mentioning this shit because, well, it's imperative that you know this. There's actually a company out there. When you go to put this caliper on, it doesn't line up perfectly. But there's a company out there called I think it's S&K or S&S LLC. Somebody help me out in chat here. They actually make the inserts, okay? They actually make the inserts. Notice that it's not really lined up on the SN. You pop these inserts out. They make the inserts and the spacers to make sure this caliper fits and centers on the rotor that you put on your car. So they did all the homework. They did all the they got all the hardware to make it an easy fit, and it'll be in my video soon when I go back to putting these back together. Well, the Brembo's fit. Okay, does that bolt right up to the, no? And I just said it. S&S Engineering. Yes, they have a kit. It's a low expensive. It's $175, and if you were to look at it, you would be like, what the hell? But they actually give you the spacer to go behind, because when you put the spindle on and you put the hub bearing on, there's a spacer that goes back here, and then you put your rotor on, and it actually centers your caliper. You see what I'm talking about? So you have even wear on all 4 pistons. But Matt, that shit's gonna stop like you wouldn't believe. Isn't that dope? Man, it's good. It's a good stream, boy. All kind of goodies up in here. But that's probably, I was gonna say that for the last, like the end, but I'm gonna be honest with you, that's probably the best one of them all. If there's one junkyard mod that you need to get, even if you don't want it, outside of the obvious, it's those front spindles on an SN95. Cheap horsepower tricks. So, cheap horsepower tricks isn't really our theme today, 54, but we'll get into that here in just a second. I'm going to just briefly talk about the Explorer camshaft. A lot of you guys are probably like, F that cam. To be honest with you, the Explorer cam has a really good lobe set, like 118, 117, whereas the Fox stock one is only like 114. If you're a boosted application, lobe set does matter a little bit, does help you out a little bit. The stock Explorer camshaft is a 422, 448 lift duration, and the stock Foxbody is 444, 444 at 5 whatever. So it's not a terrible camshaft, honestly. And the reason why I talk about it is because the Explorer stock bottom end isn't that bad of a motor just out of the truck. You know, you have to convert a lot of the front, like this is some of the guys, if you guys can get a 5.0 Explorer motor, you have to convert a lot of the parts over. Like you have to plug a lot of vacuums. You got to take the elbow off for the front, the intake. You got to take the whole front of the motor apart because you got to put all your accessories and everything on the front of it. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, those motors aren't terrible. Like that's just, and we steal the heads and intakes off these motors. You should get the whole damn motor. Because to be honest with you, the Explorer motor 96 to 01 and 97 to 01 Mountaineer is pretty much the same damn motor that's in an SN95, which is pretty much the same damn motor that's in a 93 Foxbody. Because you remember, 93, they switched everything from TRW forged to the Hyper Eutectic. There you have it. So, I wanted to talk about that camshaft because I wanted to mention the stock bottom end of an Explorer. If you can get the whole damn motor, get the whole damn motor. Because you're already ahead right there. You could drop that down in your Foxbody, and that's coming in a video soon. I'm telling you, it's coming either this week or next week. I got a video shot of my buddy Randy's car. You'll be surprised. You'd be surprised. And there's people out there that's done it. I mean, they're probably sitting here in chat. I hit it. Everyone needs it. Okay. Are Explorer blocks weaker, stronger than... No. The Explorer Mountaineer... let's talk about the Explorer. It's not on my list, but let's talk about the motor itself, since I talked about the camshaft. There's not enough difference in their camshafts to really to give a shit of any sort of a difference. Actually, the F1 rods and the crankshaft out of which would be an F1 SC block, there's no difference in strength. What makes the Explorer block a little bit weaker or a little less sought after is because the hyper-eutectic pistons, they don't like boost and heat a lot. You know what I mean? The aluminum doesn't like. Whereas the 87 and 92, that 6-year span of Foxbody, they actually had a TRW forged piston. And I haven't seen a TRW forged piston broke in a long time. So, and I've melted a couple of hyper pistons. Matter of fact, we just did it on Dad's car, if you remember that, before we made the Fober motor. What's up, Bad Gas Garage? So, the Foxbody 8792 is a forged rod and a forged piston. It has a cast crank. It's an E7 TE block. It's a triple X block, triple Y block, whatever. The Explorer motor is a F1 SC block, and it is not I think it still has the forged rods. I think the F1 SC rods are still forged, but it's got the hyper pistons and the cast crank. So the blocks are different, and the only thing that doesn't make an Explorer block king is the fact that their pistons aren't forged. I've got to get back to work. All right, man, I appreciate you, Dave, for stopping in. Have you ever ran a stock HO cam retardant? No. What about gearing? What's your thoughts on 373 as a weekend driver? 373s are great with a T56 or an AOD. You can run it with a T5 or a 5-speed. It depends on what ratio you got. I like the 355s the best. I race with them. I street drive with them. They're my favorite gear. But I have a T56 297 first or 295, whatever it is. The TCET, I don't remember. What is it, Andrew? And I find myself wanting more gear, so. I got an SBE Explorer motor with a HR air gap. Yep. It's a great budget thing. So again, guys, that's on my list. Explorer cam. If you can get the whole damn motor, you're at a junkyard, get the whole damn motor. Period, end of story. You got to change the oil pan and the whole front accessories of it, but literally you could take you could take your old Foxbody motor, put all this stuff on it, and you're already a step ahead. MR40, Mr. 420. TCET, that's it. So, moving on, man, that's great stuff too. That Explorer shit, man. I'm glad I talked about the camshaft and brought that up. So let me bring up the 9495 GTs had a 70 millimeter map, if I remember correctly. I'm running out of stuff here. I'm going to talk about the obvious at the end here, so I might as well just go ahead and go into it. I mean, we're already at almost an hour, so. On the same topic, if we're going to have my number one mod, and I know I've probably talked about more than 10 of them, outside of the Cadillac Brembo brakes, the SN95 spindles, the number one mod for a Foxbody Mustang is obvious. Everybody knows what it is. It's the GT40 upper-lower intake. Now, sub-caveat to that, GT40 heads. Now, we just got done talking about the Explorer motor, so let me talk about the GT40 heads. So, the GT40 heads had multiple different designs. The GT40 came in the Cobras. They also came in the Lightnings. Now, whether they were built in Mexico or the CP Foundry, which is in Cleveland, depending on what hole they had. So like ½ inch or 7/16 or whatever. None of that shit really even matters. They all had the 184 valve. The GT43 bars had the same plug angle as an E7T head. We're not even going to talk about P's yet. The nice thing about the Explorer heads is they didn't have the smog externally or internally in the head, so the design was a little bit different. Whereas the 93 Cobra, 94, 95 Cobra, and the Lightnings all had the thermoculator valves in the back for the smog emissions. Does that make sense? So they're also an F3 F3ZE head versus an F77E, or was it F6? F77E is GT40P. Explorer, yeah, I talked about the center section Pro line. One of the biggest regrets I was built my 306 instead of 351. Right, so I will talk a little bit while we're talking about the GT40 Explorer, is I will talk about the 351 Windsor. The 351 Windsor itself is in itself a great mod, but then you start getting into head changes, or excuse me, complete engine swaps. And then you know when you're doing complete engine swaps, you're talking about doing a ton of differences, K-members, headers, hoods for that matter. I even made a video on the differences between a 302/82 deck and a 94351 swap. There's a lot of things that you have to spend extra money on to make it switch. So I wanted to do this whole live stream and this whole like informational craziness with, you know, stuff that we're familiar with. So, and stuff that just basically goes on the 302 for some of the people that are new to the Foxbody, because we got a lot of new people in the genre. Our community in Foxbody is growing by the day. So, you know, these are old junkyard stuff that's still in the junkyards, guys. They're still hiding in the junkyards. The Explorer engines made less horsepower and torque than HO. Yeah, it still was an HO. Robert C. wondering how much Leach Motorsports Quarter Horse tune compared to the dyno tuner. I think it would be about the same. Mind and body muscle camshaft was low lift. Right. So, you know, the Explorer motor, where was I at? If you can get the Explorer heads, the GT40 heads, we have done so many, me and Cousin Paul, who's in chat, and Cousin Fred, we have done so many GT40 rebuilds on engines. Literally, guys, if you take a set of GT40 heads off, you get them decked, you get them cleaned, you put the Trick Flow 2500 100 valve spring set, which is a drop-in set for E7 TE heads and GT40s. Now, you can get these spring sets from Anderson Ford Motorsports, which Donnie B is here in the chat. You can get the spring sets from Trick Flow, from Summit Racing. I just gave you the number. I think LMR even sells them. 2500-100 are drop-in spring kits for E7 heads and GT40 heads. So literally, you're walking through the junkyard, you don't want the motor, you just want the heads in the intake. The intake's a 68 millimeter opening with a 65 millimeter throttle body. I mean, it's got the 19-pound injectors we were talking about earlier. It's probably the #1 mod, and it's the reason why you walk into a junkyard and most, if not all, the GT40 pieces are picked out of cars, including SN95 parts. So, guys, I mean, if you want to add some stuff to the chat here, those are the #1 mods, period, end of story. I've done this stuff on a live, I did this on a live stream because there's so much to talk about. And you guys can actually go back through and listen to me ramble. Like I didn't want to waste time writing it all down on a whiteboard, but you know, if you want me to revisit and give you a list, I can do it in the comments below or something like that. So, yes. So yeah, they work on E7 and E6 heads. What do you think horsepower rating is on an Explorer pistons? Or is it? It's not the horsepower, it's the heat. But if you want to make hyper eutectic pistons last for a long time, just don't go over about 10 pounds of boost, 12 pounds. Now, there's guys out there making 15. Matter of fact, I know there's guys making 15 that are beating the snot out of it still today. So the Explorer piston it's not as rigid as a forged piston and by design because it's not the same aluminum, but it's still a good ass motor. Like if you're just looking to just drop a motor in, boom, there you go. I love the Brembo calves you mentioned. I've never heard of these before. I've ordered from Amazon. Like I said, so I'll refresh it for you guys real quick. If you want, do you want me to talk about the Brembo brakes again? I'll show you the other stuff I got. If not, it's not a big deal. Hey, the Motorsports, I appreciate the member for 3 months. Shop Foreman, what's up, bro? So again, guys, we have a channel membership that supports the channel below. It's the join button. If you see the join button below, want to be part of a membership. There's perks to it. You get to see my videos early. You know, if you're just, it's just an extra thing, and it's appreciated, guys. I appreciate you. And Loch Ness Fox, I appreciate you coming in with the super chat, $20 super chat. Help support the channel, my man. What are some of the cheap parts I can use on my Foxbody? It is stock. You need to go through these 2 live streams that I did, Davey, and check them out. Because I talked about a lot of stuff that you probably want to listen to in here. Does anyone have a line on GT40 heads? I know where there's a set at, but I don't think he wants to get rid of them. I haven't tore into my motor yet, but the heads and my number 15 as far as I can see. Okay, I haven't tore into my motor yet, but my heads just have a number 15 as far as I can see. No idea. They should say E7 TE on them or GT40 or something. I had an Explorer motor that had tons of nitrous ran through it. The bearings wore out. That's where you get the silver hue from. You know what I mean? So you guys got any more questions, want to hit me up on some of this chat. I'm going to go down through you guys want me to go through the list one more time? Kind of towards the end for some of the people that missed the stream earlier. We made a list of Junkyard mods. These Junkyard mods can be found on corral.net. I am not a sponsor at corral.net. I never will be. It's just, that's an old website that we've had for a long time. And it's got a lot of other stuff too, but I got a majority of it right here in this live stream. I like your information, but none of this seems to apply to my 93 Cobra. Still good stuff. So 93 Cobra, I mean, well, naturally your 93 Cobra has most of the already upgraded stuff as it is. So you got the other GT40 intake, you got the GT40 heads, you actually have a specific camshaft. You have the 172 rockers. I wouldn't call that a junkyard mod, but I like to use the 172 F3ZE rockers, which I'm glad you brought the Cobra, because if you can get your fingers on them, they did remake them, Crane did, but from the factory, 93 Cobras came with a 172 rocker made from Crane, but it had a Ford number on it. And those work super duper duper well with HO camshafts, either Foxbody or Explorer. So, we were talking about GT40 heads real quick. The nice thing about the Explorer ones is they didn't have the smog in the back, so you didn't have to plug the holes. 3 bars were 96 and 97.5 only. Sounds familiar because that throttle body kind of was the same way. Then they came out with the GT40P design. The GT40 Explorer, excuse me, the GT40 Cobra 93, 94, 95 were an F3ZE head. They had a 64 chamber CC chamber heads. The Cobras had the rockers. The Explorer, I know I'm just kind of throwing stuff at you guys, but whatever. The Explorer ones were the same head, just a little bit of a different design. Had 62 cc chamber heads. They didn't have the thermoculator valves, but the P heads had the different angle, but they only had a 58 chamber cc head. They all had the 184 valves. The 3 bars had the 156 exhaust, and the P heads had the 146 exhaust. So, it's a lot of information, but what do I recommend? Whatever you can get your hand on that ain't beat the shit. Built GT40 should be worth around 200 with higher springs, unless they are overpriced trick flow springs. What about the turbo coupe rear end? I already talked about that. The turbo coupe rear end, we're going to go through the list one more time right before the end of the chat. What do you think better to have? More horsepower or less weight? Light is might, man. Light is might. That's what I'm going to say to that. But my car is full weight. I just turn the weight up or turn the horsepower up. So it's all about how much room you can pull your, can you pull more horsepower out of the car? Then it's worth it. Let me change my comment. 3 bars are rare, so toss the extra 100. That's correct. 3 bars are rare if you can get them. We'll see you later, Loch Ness. I appreciate you, man. Florida, what is this? Been checking eBay, no genuine GT40s so far, only aftermarket aluminum clones. They're not terrible. Junkyards are not as stocked around here. Like I said, the cash for clunkers really beat the shit out of the Explorer market. They really did. They took a lot of the Explorers and Mountaineers out of it. We had 3 or 4 pick and pulls around here, and I used to clean them out all the time. And Explorers are just getting harder to find. They weren't a super popular V8, wasn't a big option then. I mean, they were, but you know, 1 out of 3 were 5.0s pretty much because everyone wanted the 4.0. So, yeah. If I had to choose, I guess if I was to if you were doing a Foxbody, okay, let me kind of start in closing here. If I was to do a Foxbody from stock, and I was walking through the junkyard, and there was stuff that I wanted to look for. The stuff that I would be looking for, number one, is I would be going to junkyards that had an SN95 in them. Now, like I said earlier in the stream, it doesn't matter if it's V6 or V8, it doesn't matter. I'd be pulling the fan out of it. I'd be pulling the front spindles off of it with the calipers and the hoses and the brakes, if they're all any good. I'd be pulling the rear calipers off of it for the rear disc conversion, and I'd be probably pulling the fan out of it. You have yourself $150 worth of parts, and that shit's worth its weight in gold to a Foxbody. So you can convert your car to rear disc and 5-lug in the front and just buy axles. There's no replacement 5-lug axles for the rear, except for the Ranger ones, but they're only 28 spine. Then, if I was walking through the junkyard and I had a Foxbody that I wanted to make, you know, more horsepower on, I'd be definitely looking for an Explorer. Now, I only mentioned the injectors earlier in the stream, but 19 pounds will get you to 300, 320, pretty much maxing out at around 6,000 RPM. And I can guarantee you that a stock bottom end motor isn't going to make more power past about 5,400 RPM. I've dynoed way too much to know that. So, if I was walking through and I had a stock Foxbody and I wanted to do some mods to it, that's another thing I would be looking for. I would be looking for an Explorer with a V8 in it so I could steal its whole engine. If you can get the whole engine for $200 or $300, it's worth its weight in gold. You could sell the stock bottom end probably for $150 on Facebook if it looks pretty good and doesn't look all beat up, and to another guy who wants to put it in a truck or something. Because those are a popular swap for those F-150s. You see what I'm saying? So, those are the 2 main vehicles you need to be looking for. Junkyard mods are there, man. You don't need big injectors. You don't have to go to, you know, you don't have to jump on all these websites and buy 24s. Guys, you don't need 24-pound injectors until you really start making horsepower. Till legitimately, a 19-pound injector can max out your stock bottom end for the most part, and it'll run right. Your computer will see the injector. It runs on the same frequency as the stock math. You know, everyone has this fallacy that, you know, when you start modifying a stock bottom end, you start putting aluminum heads and an intake on it and a camshaft, that you automatically have to get an injector or a mass air. That's not always the case. You know, if you have access to getting it tuned, sure, then it works. Calibrated math, it'll work. It'll get it close, but 19s will work, I'm telling you. Rock Auto, where do you get disc brakes? You can order 93 Cobra. That's right. First time on your live feed and a little fast for an old man, but still learn. Hey, you know what? All my lives, I appreciate you coming. All my live feeds are all, you know, this is live, so you can go back and re-reference it later. That's the nice thing about it. And instead of making an 8-minute video where you have to constantly go through the ads and, you know, the live streams actually kind of give you a, you know, something that you can actually reference. And we talk about it for like an hour. So it's good stuff. Where can I get headers for a GT40P Fox? So I did want to reference the GT40P heads. Now the GT40P heads have a different plug angle, as we all know. Now, the one way to get away from getting the plug angle fixed is putting 90-degree boots on it. Now, I want to say that I have some over here on the shelf, but now I'm looking at myself and I don't have it. Anyways, Taylor makes a kit. It's like Taylor Wires actually has a kit that has a 90-degree boot. If you have the tool, you could actually take the wires that you already currently have, and you could convert them to 90 degree. So the best thing for you to do on a P motor If you're putting P heads on on a Foxbody, doesn't matter what headers you're running, for the most part, is cutting a socket, shortening a spark plug socket, so you can get the plugs in with a 3/4 inch wrench, and running 90-degree boots. So, what's up, Gennaro? Is it Gennaro Hawk? I have 24 pounds. Dan have calibrated to a 65. Nice. You think I should go bigger? Yes. If you have a 363, you should see a 42-pound injector. Period. 363s eat a lot of fuel. What's up, White Dragon? It's good to see you. We're kind of at the end of our live stream, my man. So if you guys got any questions about this, this is my list. Call me cheap, but everything going electric, spending $1,600 on trick flows is kind of a gamble. That's right. So we talked about the 87, 88 turbo coupe axle with its already having its gears, 24-pound injectors found on a Taurus HO mid-90s, Explorer injectors, Explorer throttle body, 65mm throttle body, left side Ranger axle 5-lug swap, right side Aerostar 5-lug swap, rear axle that is. Aerostar, same vehicle with V6s, had an aluminum drive shaft that fits a Foxbody. SN95 spindles, which I just talked about, actually, and the Brembos, which is a 20 to 13 to 20 to 18 CTS Cadillac with the brake option. They still can be found in junkyards. Rear disc out of a V8 V6 with the brackets and the calipers and the caliper brackets. GT40 heads, GT40 intake. I'm going through the list. Explorer cam and stock bottom end, if you can get the whole motor. 9495 GT MAF, I think was 70mm, if I remember correctly. You can do the Lightning MAF, but there's not any Lightnings in junkyards, really. I hope not. 3G alternator, 9495 SN95 Foxbody, SN95 Mustang. Contour fan, Taurus fan, Lincoln Mark 7 fan, SN95 fan with a controller. Yeah, 347, I'd go 42s as well. Aluminum drive shaft in the Aerostar, I already talked about that, 92 to 94. The differential in the Explorer rear axle, V6 and V8, 96 to 01. And Mountaineer 97 to 01, the rear diff was a 31 spline. It also came with gears. They were either 373 or 4 tons. Got to get those. 30-pound injectors in a Super Coupe. Those are hard to find. And mid-80s, Lincoln Mark 7. What the? I don't even know what that meant. So pretty much that's my list. There you have it. It's crazy. It's a lot of stuff. And I mean, that's just, there's other shit. Without me really digging. I mean, you can do the 5-lug cheater rotors on the, the LTDs and something else. They had 5-lug cheater rotors. If you happen to find an LTD that had a good rotor on it, easy peasy. Did you mention the V65s? Yeah, so 9495 T5 transmissions in a Mustang are the same transmissions they have the same cluster and gear set that are in the 86 to 89 Ford Mustangs, the Foxbodies. The only difference is the V6s did not have the same top plate, and they had a longer, I think they're 7.5 inches longer, the input shaft, whereas the Foxbody one is 7 inches. I don't know, maybe Hanlon's still here, you can help me out. Brake boosters, okay, so yes, brake booster on a SN95, I forgot about that one. So, the brake booster on, you could get a new Cobra brake booster from like the parts store, but you could also get the SN95 master cylinder. This is what's going on the black car with the with the wheel wood that you guys see me open up earlier, the proportioning valve. the Wilwood proportioning valve. I'm gonna run copper lines and send it. But I gotta get that S&S kit. Yes, sir. So yeah, so guys, I just hope I've, I do these streams to try to help people. I try to help, especially with the genre the way it is now. Fox bodies are not getting any cheaper. I heard the few minutes that I was in Brutal's stream, I heard him talk about making a new video about the prices of Fox bodies. Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. They're not going down in price, and they're only, if anything, they're only getting more popular. They're easy to modify for the most part. There's just a wealth of knowledge all over the internet about them, and they're just fun to drive. Tubular intake, good or bad for a Fox body and 3-bar? No, it's a good intake, but honestly, it's not really an intake. I mean, it doesn't make any more horsepower than the other ones. It's just looks. Sean Ray Motorsports, what's up? Do you think Bama chip is hurting my Fox body? Yes. Yes. And he's correct with that. You need to get a custom tune if you got a lot of mods, or you just put your 19s back on for now. Lots of people use the tubular on Foxes. They are hard to come by. Yes, they are very expensive. There's also a rare Vortex Celine one too. That's like the holy grail of intakes. I actually owned one of those once too. I've owned a lot of rare car things and rare parts, but I can't have nice stuff. I just got to have one of 10,000 so I sleep well at night. So yeah, got any more questions for us, guys? I just like to do these live streams. I have to have a theme. My live stream has to have a theme. And I appreciate the guys that support with the super chat, and I appreciate everybody in green. If you guys see a guy in green here, he's a member of the channel. So every little bit helps keep the channel rolling. Give something back to the channel. We got a Fox Days of Christmas coming. So Fox Days of Christmas is actually about a month away-ish. And that's going to be something that's great. I'm going to be giving back a little bit of what you at YouTube, by watching my, by supporting the channel, I'm going to be giving back by watching the videos and what I've done on YouTube. I'm going to be giving back to the, to you people, or you, my crowd, audience, you people that watch me. So, I'm thinking about carbs. Okay, so before we end the stream, I have a video coming out tomorrow. And tomorrow's video is going to be crazy. I have a friend of mine, his name is Nate. Slow Nate's probably here in channel somewhere. But you guys remember Rust Bucket Racer? We have a video coming out you guys are not going to believe. Do you guys like sleepers, budget, and cheap? Obviously, if you do, you're here in the channel. You're not going to believe how fast this car went. It's sick. It almost makes me want to just sell my tools. It's ridiculous. But kudos to Slow Nate and Papa Hootman for letting me film that car, let alone bring it to you as the channel. You guys are going to really enjoy it. The other video we have coming up this week is, you're not going to believe how fast I went with the TKX. It's going to be, I did go, I don't know if I'm going to do the video with the TKX this week, or if I'm going to do the Explorer one with my buddy Randy's car. We're trying to get back on the dyno, but it's snowing in Ohio now, so I have to figure out what I'm doing with my cars. Try to send a super sticker, but I changed my channel name and it wouldn't let me. No, it's all good, Big Stick, man. I appreciate you. Thanks for showing us the piston swap. Yeah, so another mod that you already have it's not really a junkyard mod is you can flip your pistons backwards. You can change the banks on them. Changing the banks, I mean, there's no real explanation on why you should do it. Just that I know that it works. And it's good for a little bit of horsepower. It's an old dirt track trick. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out my building a 500 horsepower motor. I've actually mentioned it in 2 different videos. So I do it in both videos and both motors, but it does work. It does work, and it kicks ass. Yeah, Dan, I feel like I'm way down on power. I dynoed at 370 and 440 on a 363. Oh, you naturally aspirated. Well, the Edelbrock 165s are killing you, first of all. Kill it. You need a 185 AFR on that head, you need 42-pound injectors, and that thing should make 425 wheel, period. What's up? I appreciate you, B&B Painting, appreciate you. What bell housing are universal for Foxes? I have a manual trans that I need a bell housing for. There really isn't any. You just have to find the E6, was it E6ZR? I don't know. Feel like I have a good 50. Yeah, so you've left at least 50 or 60 on the table with those heads. 185 heads are a minimum for a 363. 205 is nice. That's what I have in this. 220 is a little bit big, depending on the compression though. So 363 is a badass motor. That's exactly why it's staying in this car, and I'm gonna have all kind of fun with it. And we're building a second 363, which brings me to my next thing I wanted to tell you guys is the 408 turbo kit and all, tune and everything out of my white car that made 715 800 wheel is coming out of my white car if people are interested. I was thinking right around about 8,500 for the complete swap. Basically, you would take this engine, you would put it down in your car, you would put my tune in your car and hope you didn't blow everything up past it. I mean, it would eat whatever transmission. You better put a good axle in it too, but for the most part, that motor's still breaking in, and what we're going to do is we're going to end up building another 363 with my big turbo kit back on the shelf back there, and we're going to chase 8s on the white car. So if you guys are interested in the 408, a very well-built 408, turbo kit, tune and all, 715 800 wheel, white car's transmission, or motor, not transmission, but motor, flywheel forward, intake to pan, turbo kit and all for sale with the tune. Max compressor for pump gas, 11 to 1, just under 11 if you can keep it around that. I know it's kind of hard when you start stroking the crap out of the motors. When you go up into the 408s, the 427s, well 408 for that matter, for a 351, it's really kind of hard to keep the compression from being too high. Because I mean, it naturally wants to be 11 to 1 just being on a flat top. What heads are on the 408 205s? Like it's a production block, but it's got a K1 Tech crank, rods. It's got Weisco forged pistons coated, custom turbo cam. It has Morel hydro linked roller rockers. The heads all have beehives, Harlan Sharps, trick flow push rods, box R intake, 90 millimeter throttle body. 160-pound Bosch high impedance injectors. You can't have my rails. The injectors go, but the rails stay with my fuel system. That's the only thing that doesn't go. Modified on 3 turbo kit. This is the best content in chat I've had found in any live. Hey man, I appreciate that. Listen, I try to keep things real with you guys. You know, YouTube is YouTube. There's a lot of Foxbody channels out there, and there's a lot of guys that know a lot of the, a lot of the stuff I'm even talking about that have smaller channels. So make sure you guys are checking out some of those other smaller channels. There's just a wealth of knowledge. It's not about who's the favorite. You know, it's about just being like, I like to bring knowledge to the genre. You know, I don't want to just be an enthusiast. I want to be a tech. You know, and I want to be known for that. You know what I mean? I want to be known for giving something to the community, like my mass air harness video. Like, I don't think anybody has ever had all 7 of them in front of them, let alone done a video or anything about it. So that, to me, was one of my legacies with the YouTube and you see what I'm saying? It's giving something to the community. Now you have one video that shows you all 7 harnesses of a factory EFI harness, because the injector harnesses are all the same and so aren't the O2s. You just need to make sure that you pin them right. You see what I mean? So that's what I like to do, and I do appreciate that. Best aftermarket 5.0 intake. Depends on what you got going on. Stock bottom end, I would go with Trick Flow. I do like the System X. 347, I like the Box R. It's got long runners, but it's different. But they're also a spider thing you can do with the elbow when you start getting up into 363, 408 range. What size throttle body you think I should go to? 80, 85? About getting in, that's right. Do you have any mods planned for your dad's GT this winter? Yes, we have a K member we're putting on. We still got to go to the dyno. Dad's car's going to the dyno. You guys want to know what the Fobra motor made over the stock motor? That, you know, because the Fobra motor is the original Cobra Cam. GT40 worked over P heads and a GT40 intake. So we're going to do a difference video about that. I don't think we're going to put the turbo kit on it, but we talked about doing a turbo kit on speed density, if you guys remember that. So we made 7 pounds of boost with a supercharger. Who's to say I can't make 7 pounds of boost with a speed density on an FMU on a turbo? Does that make sense? So, yeah, man, I appreciate you, Gennaro. DK, I'm swapping from a Trick Flow track heat to a Vic Jr. carb style intake. What size throttle body is good for a 70 to 75? You don't need to go any more than 75 on a 70. Daniel Rose, when you hurt the stock rods on a 351, what was the issue? When you hurt the stock rods, it started making noise. Started losing compression, started running funny. The motor started running rough. It's not balanced at that point. All right, Bama, I'll see you soon, man. I appreciate you. I've swapped a 5.0 on my 4-cylinder car. Thought about using BMR suspension. Any thoughts? That's a good suspension. That's not terrible. It's a good start. They are what they are. It just depends. You know, some people have to go with what they can afford. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so about 5 more minutes. You guys got any questions you want to hit me up with? Any tech stuff? I think this was a really, really good live stream. I don't really want to end it, but I did end up talking about my whole list in detail. And if you guys, you know, it's on a live stream, so it's, you know, if you're interested in the content, will not get deleted. So this whole conversation and this whole live stream will stay tucked away on my channel for a while. I will be selling merch, my hat, my shirts, and some stickers on my website soon. I don't have the website up yet. I keep talking about doing it. I'm just so damn busy. How much power you think 302 with B-Cam, GT40P, and intake? To the wheels, probably looking at about 275. I'm building a 331, 1002, 10.2 to 1. Can I safely? Yes. Yep. You can safely run boost up to 10.5 to 1. You can run boost whatever you want. You just can't run a lot. I think my 408 is 10. No, my 408's got 72 cc heads, so its compression is like 10.2 to 1, 10.4 to 1. My 363 is like 10.5 to 1. Do you have fabricated headers for P heads? Do you have to no? You just run 90-degree boots and DEI boot covers. Have you ever used a Ford Motorsports piggyback computer with a rev limiter and air fuel adjustment knobs? And now I haven't seen one of those in freaking forever. I don't know if I would trust it though. not now. Good night. Thanks for what you do for us. I appreciate you, Bill. Appreciate you stopping in. What's up, Paul DeFox? It's good to see you. Hello to you and Sally. We're actually about to head out the door here. Would a VSI give me the same power as a 70 millimeter? Okay, so in closing with the supercharger versus turbo, a supercharger makes power right now. Turbo usually has to spool. I built my turbo kits around a small turbo because I want to choke the shit out of it and make it go fast now. Like, it's almost like my turbochargers act like superchargers. Superchargers rely on crank power, and it runs with a crank pulley, whereas a turbocharger runs from exhaust. So naturally, I don't think a VSI would keep up with a 70 millimeter, but you know, I don't want to hate on it because I think it's a good supercharger as well. Port Explorer GT40 P heads and intake are not worth it. If you're good at it and don't want to spend a lot of money on it, yes. But they work just fine bolt-on. What size throttle body should I run on a stock motor 60 over? Ooh, 60 over is a problem. The reason why 60 over is a problem is because you're getting real close to the water jacket. Your motor's going to run a little warm, just so you know. But what size throttle body should I run? I'd probably run a 70, 75. Horrible lag on a turbo usually has something to do with the big exhaust housing. So, I mean, if you run a really big exhaust housing, you'll have all kind of lag for that matter. Anyways, guys, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. As always, try to do a theme. Try to leave my knowledge out there. It's not always going to be there. I apologize for leaving the stream, just seeing some people come in, but we've been at it about an hour and a half. I do appreciate everybody for hitting that like and being engaged in our list of junkyard mods. If you're new to the Foxbody world, guys, I mean, I pretty much laid down a whole list of stuff that you can go to a junkyard. If that's not your thing, you should at least try it. I mean, I love picking through the junkyard to see what's out there. I mean, you'd be surprised on what you can find. So anyways, guys, make sure you guys hit that like on the way out. I do appreciate you spending a Sunday evening for an hour and a half chatting about Foxbodies. But it is snowing and I am tired and it's time for me to head on out. So guys, keep your wheels straight. Get those Mustangs tucked away for the winter. And I appreciate everybody. Thank you for being part of the channel. See you guys this week in some videos.